A very warm welcome to you at home. This is Afroshowbiz News and my name is Musam Khalipi. We're on the show that brings you all things art and entertainment from around the African continent. Now, to keep in touch, feel free to send us an email at afroshowbiznews@sabc.co.za. Also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @AfroShowbizNews. Let's take a look at stories making headlines this week. Finding Fela opens in New York. Glasgow City hosted the Africa in Motion Film Festival. And the Polytones postponed their tour to Port Elizabeth. OK Africa and OK Player hosted the premiere of Finding Fela last week Friday at the IFC Center in New York in the United States of America, with a special Q&A afterward featuring Femi Kuti, who is Fela's son. Finding Fela, the new Fela Kuti documentary from Academy Award-winning director Alex Gibney, began its North American theatrical run this Friday with a week-long engagement. The film takes us all on an insightful and spiritual journey throughout the life of this African icon. Fela inspired the world by using his music as a weapon for political activism in Nigeria. Kuti was born to an influential family. His father was a school headmaster and protestant minister. His mother was a trailblazer for women's rights in Africa.
Everybody say yeah, yeah.
Finding Fela is a collection of videos of interviews with his family, friends and notable musicians who were inspired by Fela's musicality. These include Questlove from The Roots, Sir James Paul McCarthy from The Beatles, and behind-the-scenes takes from his musical production. Fela was musically influenced by high life and jazz, with inspirations coming from soulful musicians such as Miles Davis and James Brown. Later, Fela furthered his music by creating the new style of Afrobeat, which took the continent by storm. Finding Fela, which is now in the United States of America, will be released in the United Kingdom in September. Popular South African band the Polytones have postponed their latest unplugged winter tour. The band was set to perform at the Boardwalk Casino in Port Elizabeth towards the end of August.
It comes so easy,
They had to postpone all performance dates and promotional activities indefinitely. This comes after the lead singer Khan Mobi's vocal cords were damaged. According to reports, Mobi will be undergoing surgery in order to fix his vocal cords. The new tour dates will be announced once Mobi has made a full recovery. A statement released by the Polytones said, "The band would like to apologize to all the fans for the cancellations and hope to be back on stage in the foreseeable future." The band added that all tickets are fully refundable and that fans must contact the relevant venues to arrange for a full refund. New tour dates will be announced once surgery has taken place and rehabilitation has commenced.
Nigerian musician Ayo Bolagan, better known as Wizkid, performed last week in the USA in New York. He thrilled his fans when he brought on stage some of the USA's biggest acts, such as Akon and rapper Wale. Niger pop star Wizkid has stepped up his musical game. His latest concert in the United States of America, graced by reality TV star Natalie Nunn, convict music boss Akon, and international rapper Wale, saw a number of people in attendance. The musician has been spending a lot of time in the USA in order to build his musical profile and relationships with musicians abroad. Wizkid is no stranger to collaborating with international stars. Over the years, he has recorded major collaborations with music acts such as Young Jeezy, The Game, Cardinal Offishall, and Wale. Over the years, his talent as a singer and songwriter became evident and has resulted in Wizkid being prominently featured alongside some of the biggest names in Nigeria's music industry. Wizkid rose to prominence with his song Holla at Your Boy in 2009. He has been the recipient of numerous awards, including a BET Award, a MOBO Award, the Headies Awards, and a Channel O Music Video Award, among others. The young star also has a huge following on social networks. In February this year, he became the first ever Nigerian musician to have over 1 million followers on Twitter. A new film titled Mr. Pip, set against the backdrop of the civil war in Bougainville in New Guinea, tells the importance of education and how literature can help build lives. The film stars Globe winner Hugh Laurie as well as newcomer Zanja.
Mr. Pip director Andrew Adamson's adaptation of Lloyd Jones's Man Booker Prize Shortlist 2006 novel. The movie focuses on a war that rages on in the province of Bougainville in Papua New Guinea. Mr. Watts, Hugh Laurie, the only white man left on the island after a blockade, reopens the local school. He begins reading the Charles Dickens novel, Great Expectations, which transfixes a young girl named Matilda, played by Zanja.
Can anyone be a gentleman?
Yes, they can.
Even a poor person?
Matilda finds comfort in the story of a Victorian orphan, Pip, when her own world is falling apart. The Redskins, an army sent to destroy the local rebels, are getting closer. Matilda writes Pip in the sand. This simple act leads to terrible consequences when the Redskins suspect Pip to be a rebel leader and demand he be brought before them. The movie talks about how literature can provide solace and a means of escape in the worst of times, and how books can teach us how to deal with our reality. First-time actress Zanja offers a splendid performance in the film. The New Guinea-born actress has already received international recognition for her role in the film. The movie is expected to be in cinemas later this year.
Saw a signal on the pitch. What is PIP?
We'll now go for a quick ad break, but do stay tuned for more. Welcome back. The Arts and Culture Trust has called in for nominations for its Impact Awards for Young Professionals, which are presented as part of the annual awards ceremony held in recognition and celebration of excellence in South African arts, culture and creativity. Now, to chat to us rather more about this award is Garabo Lukwabe, who's the program's coordinator. Hello and welcome to Afroshowbiz News.
Hi, Musa. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Now, Garabo, for those at home that don't know what the Impact Awards are, briefly explain to us exactly what they entail.
Well, the Impact Awards, essentially, we are looking for young professionals who are within the first 5 years of their career and not older than 30. The categories are visual arts, music and singing, design, and theatre. And basically the winners receive 1,500 Rand in cash, and they receive a spread in Classic Feel magazine, which is valued at over 30,000 Rand. And it's just, the aim is really to recognize young people who are making an impact within their own careers, who are making an impact for other people, and, you know, give them that due recognition and that spring in their careers.
Now, you've also just announced the panel of judges. Tell us who will be on the panel and why these specific people were maybe chosen.
The panel of judges is really quite a variety, and usually with the judging panels for the Impact Awards, we really look for much older, very experienced people in the creative industry. On our panel this year, we have Caroline Smart, who is a trustee at the Arts and Culture Trust, and she actually convened the panel. And she's an arts journalist. She has, her career spans for decades, you know, through theatre. She's a writer, she's an activist. Also on our judging panel, we have jazz legend Ndate Herbie Tswaeli. We have visual artist David Golwani, who's also a previous Lifetime Achievement Award winner at the Arts and Culture Trust. And then we have Nadia Versami, who's the current CEO of Moving Into Dance, and she's also quite an arts educator and developer. And am I forgetting anyone? And we have Eugenie Drakes, who has a brand called Peace, and she's really active in sort of the crafts industry. Her career also spans over decades. So we have quite seasoned and very experienced judges. Oh, and I forgot one more. We have Prince Lamla, who is a theatre director, and he's also a previous Standard Bank Young Artist.
All right, now for those that want to take part in the awards, is there like a certain criteria that needs to be met, or what criteria is followed?
Well, that is the criteria, essentially, that it needs to be the first 5 years of their career, they need to be under 30, and they need to really be operating within South Africa, within the arts industry in our country. Yeah, but I mean, it's really simple. You can nominate yourself. Anyone can nominate you. It's a public nomination process, and the closing date is next week, Friday, the 8th of August.
Now, I believe that the nominations are not only just for individuals, but organizations as well. What sort of organizations do you maybe look for?
Well, I can talk a little bit about some of the previous winners that we've had. One of our previous winners in design is the Oslo Clothing Store, which is a designer clothing store based in the Maboneng precinct in Joburg. And basically, it was beautiful because of the development element. I mean, it's a store, and we have a young designer who started this business, but he basically has like 20 other designers who sell their merchandise through, you know, the Oslo store. So it's really, in terms of organizations, it's something like that that's making quite a wide impact. But it's for organizations, it's for a brand, it's for companies, for individual artists as well.
All right. Now, Karabo, how do you think that these awards are going to be different compared to the ones previously?
Well, this year the Arts and Culture Trust turns 20, and we are like one of the oldest funding and development arts organizations in the country. So it's going to be a huge celebration this year because we have Nedbank on board as an additional sponsor for the 20th year celebration. So we've got like big plans. The format of the awards is going to change slightly this year to accommodate the 20th year celebrations.
All right, well, Karabo, thank you so much for joining us. That is where we'll have to leave it, though.
Thank you. I think I just want to mention that they must just visit www.act.org.za and just click on nominations.
All right, thank you so much, Karabo.
Thank you, Musa.
Now, a young Ethiopian fashion designer is teaching impoverished women in her country to make a living through fashion. Hiwat Gishawa works with the community with 3 other employees who she has trained in the art of dressmaking and embroidery. Thank you.
22-year-old Hiwat Gishawa is one of Ethiopia's youngest fashion designers. She graduated top of her class at the Addis Ababa Design School. Hiwata's clothing brand, known as Abugida Fashion, uses locally sourced materials to create trendy outfits. Abugida means learning something new in the local Amharic language. In her designs, she fuses contemporary styles and traditional Ethiopian designs.
When I was a child, I used to cut pieces of cloth and make dresses for my dolls. I had no clue about design, and I didn't mean to become a designer, but it was going to happen.
Hiwata's employees are all former street kids, and she hired them from a local charity that works with poor women and families. One of them, Mulu Zidi, says her life has changed since she started working at Abugida.
It has been almost a year and a half since I started working with her. I'm in a very good place now. My life is no longer the same. She's really a good person. I am much older than her, but she held my hands and taught me how to use this machine.
Hiwata designs everything herself and also decides on the layout of the Abugida fashion store. Her label also produces baby clothes, belts, bags, and home decor.
The market is very good. My dresses are not just worn during weddings or special occasions. You can wear them every day. That's how I want to distinguish myself from others. They are simple clothes that the youth or anyone can wear.
Abugida has become popular with the country's growing middle class that can now afford to buy her products. The young designer also sells her garments online to local and overseas customers. Not only has Hiwata brought something new to fashion in Ethiopia, she has also given the women who work for her a new lease on life.
Rwandan musician No Less will be performing at a month-long Afro Nation Caribana event in Canada. No Less will perform next week of August in Toronto before heading to Montreal.
After successfully launching her third album, Knowless is set to perform at the Afro Nation Caribana in Canada. The event will include 2 shows in Toronto and Montreal and will share the stage with other regional music stars in a series of events. Other musicians from the region expected to take part in the concert include Tanzanian celebrated singer Diamond Platinumz, Uganda's Juliana Kanyomozi, Kenya-based Burundian musician Kidam, and Dr. Claude, among others. Meanwhile, Knowless has postponed the launch of her third album, Butera, which she had initially planned to launch from the 4th until the 19th of July, because it would coincide with Liberation Day celebrations in Rwanda. The annual Afro Nation Caribana event is organized by East Africans based in Canada.
Now, as Glasgow hosts the Commonwealth Games, the Scottish city is also showing off African film. The Africa in Motion Film Festival takes place in the Scottish city and it ends today.
Sports stories from around the African Commonwealth is this year's Africa in Motion Film Festival theme. The tour is an official culture event of this year's Glasgow Games. By highlighting the diverse array of sports narratives from across Africa, the festival will show how each country and region has its own sports story. The event will allow Commonwealth spectators to watch boxing in Ghana, cycling in Rwanda, surfing in South Africa, and football in Nigeria. The festival will also use sports to highlight some of the main aims of the Commonwealth, including HIV/AIDS awareness, democracy, and the history of slavery.
You are still watching Afroshowbiz News. Now, if you have missed any of our shows, be sure to catch our previous shows on our YouTube channel by simply searching for Afroshowbiz News. We'll now go for another ad break, but we'll be back for more. Welcome back. The 35th Durban International Film Festival ended last week Sunday. The ever-expanding African film industry has once more been represented at the event. Although South African film retains its key focus with 40 feature-length films and 38 short films, most of them receiving their world premieres on Durban screens. Collectively, they represent by far the largest number of South African films in DIF's history. Now, to tell us more about the festival, we're joined from our Durban studios by manager at DIF, Peter Martian. Hello and welcome to Afroshowbiz News.
Hello, Musa. Good to be here.
Thank you for coming, Peter. Now, Peter, DIF is one of the biggest film festivals in Africa. Tell us a bit about what transpired at this year's event.
Well, I don't know if anybody remembered last year in which our opening night film was effectively banned. So in the context of that, this year was in a way much less exciting in that there was less drama. But on the other hand, we had a very smoothly run festival. We moved to a new venue, the Elangeni and Maharani complex. And we had a very, very successful event in terms of audience participation and audience attendance. And it was really great to have such a strong African and South African program this year.
All right. Now, Peter, which are some of the films that you think stood out this year?
I'm not really allowed to say that because every film is wonderful and every film is important. But I will just tell you, so some of the films that just come to mind. Obviously, our opening night film, Hard to Get, was a very strong piece of cinema, very commercial and engaging. We did get a bit of flack for maybe having something that was too close to a genre film, but I was very happy with it, and our general audiences were very excited about it. Then we had some kind of smaller smaller African films, but no less important. There's a great little film called Betty and Amar, an Ethiopian vampire drama. We showed a film called Bloody Beans, which was an account of the Algerian Revolution using young children as a medium of expression. It was very experimental and very interesting. A small film called Vevi about a kind of a narcotic trade in Kenya. Obviously, we had Nelson Mandela, The Myth and Me, opening the documentary section of the festival. Mine is Shot Down, the devastating account of Marikana. And I could carry on until I'd mentioned all 40 or 50 South African and African films. But there's a lot of really great stuff.
All right. Now, Peter, in terms of economic growth, does DIF offer platforms for up-and-coming filmmakers? And does it somehow create job creation in Durban?
Well, I think it does. Look, obviously, these things are kind of lagged. So part of the festival is the sister event, the Durban Film Mart, which this year attracted, I think, about 400 or 500 guests from around the world, but also led to 900 meetings between filmmakers and producers and financiers. And this is a very important process. I mean, I've been watching the growth of the Film Mart and the Film Office over the last 10 years. And it's been amazing to watch the film industry and the festival and the Film Mart grow in tandem. So I think it's a very important part of local economic growth in terms of the film industry.
All right. Now, Peter, what do you think are some of the challenges that you guys came across this year?
I think the challenge is always to kind of grow but constrain our growth. So we moved into the Maharani Elangeni complex this year from the Blue Waters last year. And the Blue Waters was full last year, so we needed a bigger space. And almost immediately, the Maharani and Elangeni were full. So one of the key challenges is keeping the growth, but keeping it kind of under control. The central challenge is always to garner as much recognition for the festival inside the country, and particularly in Durban, as it receives around the world. There is a strange situation, I think, with lots of South African art, where we recognize very well, globally, but often have trouble kind of engaging a local audience. And while it was great to see our audience grow this year, and I think also move beyond the bounds of the traditional kind of festival audience into a broader kind of mainstream audience, I think there's a lot of work to do in terms of getting local audiences to watch local cinema.
All right. Well, Peter, I'm afraid that is where we'll have to leave it, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Musa.
All right. Now, Motswako rapper Kulichana has scooped up his first international award at the African Music Magazine Award for Best Male Southern Africa on Saturday night in Texas.
Chana was invited to attend and perform at the Afrima Awards. He beat AKA and Donald on the same category of the Best Southern African Male. Since 2009, Chana has taken home about 13 local awards. From South Africa, Lyra, Toya DeLazy were also nominated for Best Female Southern Africa Artist, but Zahara bagged this one. Other South African acts who came out top at the 2014 Afrimas were DJ Oskido and Mafikizolo. Oskido won the Music Producer of the Year award, and Mafikizolo and Uhuru won Best Collaboration for Corner. Veteran singer Yvonne Chaka Chaka was honored with the legendary award. The award ceremony is aimed at celebrating the music of Africa, culture and artists that tell the stories of the African continent. Afrima also serves to create a platform that promotes the diversity of African music by bringing influential artists from different African countries for a night of celebration.
This week, we take a look at a book titled The Democratic Opportunity. Does South Africa Need Electoral Reform by South African author Nompumelelo Runji. The book questions what it would take to restore good governance in South Africa. It observes South African political context within the 20 years of democracy. In its chapters, it highlights issues that the country faces, ranging from racial segregation, institutional strengths and weaknesses. It also explores, relationships between the country's electoral system as well as government performance. Nompumelelo is a researcher and analyst based in South Africa. She has contributed to national and international discourse on politics, socioeconomic issues with specific focus on South Africa and Africa as a whole. The Women's Humanity Art Festival will take place at the Artscape Theatre in Cape Town from Wednesday. The festival will also be celebrating its 4th edition since its inception in 1997. The festival seeks to celebrate Women's Day next week and Women's Month. This year, the festival is themed Humanity, and the aim is to have a series of productions, concerts, workshops, and exhibitions. It encourages the participation of disabled communities. Women, men, and all spheres of life can take part. A photo exhibition titled Floating World by Patricia de Scroll is currently taking place at the Gallery Momo in Johannesburg. It ends on Tuesday.
This is one solo exhibition not to be missed, and it begins with her work while she was in Finland in 2012, capturing its local environment and its atmosphere from moment to moment. She worked on capturing simple shapes around her and experimented with taking images of dark matter suspended in water.
This series is quite different from previous exhibitions that she's held here. The content is a little bit more gentle than some of the previous exhibitions we've had. Her previous exhibition was called A Means to an End, and it was quite a traumatic experience and very heavy.
And she further experiments with exposing selected film to ambient daylight by opening the back of the camera for a short time, creating layers, veils, and sections of different gray tones on the image in addition to the already exposed and composed negative. And in other images, she further uses 300mm lens, allowing the camera to capture a clearer and a closer view of the sun while flattening perspective and compressing space. That is creativity at its best.
We have now come to the end of our show, but be sure to catch our repeats every Sunday at 2 a.m. and again at 1:30 p.m. Now from me and the rest of the Afroshowbiz news team, it's thank you and goodbye.